My daughter humiliated me in front of her in-laws by calling me a deadbeat dad, then expected me to quietly fund her wedding. Instead, I chose dignity over disrespect and made a silent toast to self-respect. This story reveals the moment I finally walked away and why I don't regret it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reddit Visuals. You ever realize too late that someone you love only loves you when you're useful to them? That some wounds don't bleed, they humiliate. My name is David. I'm 58. I've been married to my wife Linda for 12 years. She's Morgan's stepmother, and honestly, the voice of reason I should have listened to sooner. For the better part of 2 decades before I met Linda, I was a single father raising my daughter Morgan mostly on my own after her mother left when she was 4. I say left because abandoned still hurts too much to admit out loud. But I stepped up. I worked double shifts, missed vacations, skipped hobbies, all so Morgan could have everything I didn't have growing up. Linda used to joke that I spoiled Morgan rotten, but she said it with love. Now I wonder if she was trying to warn me. I used to think, naively, that if you gave your child love, time, and stability, they'd grow up knowing your worth. Turns out, entitlement can grow in the shade of even the deepest love. Morgan was my everything for so long. My life revolved around her. Ballet classes, I was there. Flu season, I slept on her floor. College, I paid for every cent. I put off buying Linda the engagement ring she deserved to make sure Morgan graduated debt-free. Linda never complained, but I see now how unfair that was to both of them. The first red flag should have been when Morgan barely acknowledged Linda's presence in our lives. When we got married, Morgan was 22, old enough to understand that her father deserved happiness too, but she treated Linda like furniture, polite enough but never warm, never like family. The second red flag was how Morgan's attitude shifted once she started dating James, this guy from a wealthy family. Think trust funds and old money people who wear boat shoes unironically. They run some family investment firm and act like their money makes them better than everyone else. I never fit in with them, and honestly, I didn't try to. I come from a blue-collar world. I own a small contracting business. I wear boots, not brogues. I speak straight, not in layered condescension. From the beginning, I noticed something changing in Morgan. She used to call me for advice, to vent, to ask how Linda was doing. But once she got serious with James, the calls turned into texts, then just updates about her life, then nothing unless she needed something. Linda noticed it too. "She's using you, David," she'd say gently. "When's the last time she asked how you're doing?" I'd defend Morgan. "She's busy. She's building her own life. This is normal." But Linda was right. It wasn't normal. It was calculated. Still, when Morgan got engaged, I wanted to do right by her. This was my little girl's wedding. So I started contributing. Paid the $8,000 venue deposit without being asked. Bought her $3,500 dream dress when she mentioned loving it. Covered the $4,200 catering down payment. All told, I was already in for $15,700 before we even got to flowers, photography, or music. Linda would watch me write these checks and just shake her head. "You know she hasn't even thanked you for any of this, right?" She was right again. Not one thank you, just expectations that I'd keep paying. Then came the engagement dinner that changed everything. James's family invited both sides to this overly formal dinner at some country club. One of those places where the waiters have more education than most people and the portions are smaller than my morning coffee. I was uncomfortable from the moment we walked in. Linda squeezed my hand and whispered, "Just a few hours, honey. We can do this." Everything felt like a silent test I didn't know I was taking. But I smiled. Linda and I sat together, tried to make conversation, even complimented their choice of wine when it tasted like expensive vinegar. Morgan was glowing. I'll give her that. She looked happy in a way I hadn't seen since she was little. That alone made the awkwardness worth it. Or so I thought. About an hour into dinner, James's mother, this woman who probably hasn't worked a day in her life, turns to Morgan and says, "Darling, tell us about your family. I hear your father is in trade." The way she said trade like it was a disease. Morgan laughs. Not a nervous laugh, a real, genuine laugh, like someone just told the funniest joke she'd ever heard. Then she says, "Oh, my dad? He's basically the family's lovable deadbeat. Always trying to help, but never quite getting there, you know? But hey, at least he means well." The table went quiet for about 3 seconds. Then James chuckled and said, "He's got a good heart, though." More laughter. Polite, condescending laughter. At me. While I sat right there. Linda's hand found mine under the table and squeezed so hard I thought she'd break my fingers. I sat there, the salmon I hadn't touched growing colder, wondering what part of my life Morgan thought was deadbeat. Was it the years I came home with splinters in my hands and concrete dust in my hair, working 60-hour weeks to afford her dance lessons? The busted knee I never got surgery for because the insurance deductible would have eaten into her college fund? The nights Linda and I ate mac and cheese so we could send Morgan spending money? Deadbeat. That word didn't just slap me, it destroyed me. Linda leaned over and whispered, "We're leaving. Now." But I shook my head. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me run. I smiled, finished my wine, made small talk about the weather, and stayed until dessert. But inside, something died. The father who would have done anything for his daughter, he left that table and never came back. The next morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. like I always do, made coffee for Linda and me, and stared at the folder where I kept all of Morgan's wedding receipts. $15,700 paid. No thank yous. No appreciation. Just deadbeat jokes at a table full of people who'd never worked a real day in their lives. Linda found me in the kitchen 2 hours later, still staring at those receipts. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How much respect costs," I said, "and whether I can afford to keep buying it for people who'll never pay me back." 3 weeks passed without a call from Morgan, not even a, "Hey, thanks for coming to dinner," but then I got a text. "Hey, Dad! Need your help finalizing the photographer and DJ. The deposits are $2,800 and $1,500. Can we use your card? Wedding planning is so stressful." That was it. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a request for another $4,300 like I was her personal ATM. I showed Linda the text. She read it twice and said, "What are you going to do?" For the first time in Morgan's life, I said the word I should have learned years earlier. No. Not just to her request, but to the role I'd been playing. The role of the invisible bank account. Of the man who pays the bills while his daughter rewrites history to impress people who think money makes them better than everyone else. I texted her back, "Morgan, I love you and I always have. But I won't fund another cent of this wedding. Love isn't a transaction, and neither is respect. When you're ready to treat me like your father instead of your ATM, we can talk." She didn't respond for 4 days. Then she called, not texted. Her voice was different, higher, panicked. "Dad, what do you mean you won't help? You can't just abandon me 3 months before my wedding." "I'm not abandoning you, Morgan. I'm stopping you from taking me for granted." "This is about that stupid dinner, isn't it?" "God, Dad, it was just a joke. You're being way too sensitive." Sensitive. There's that word again. The one people use when they hurt you and want to make it your fault for feeling pain. "If calling your father a deadbeat in front of strangers is your idea of a joke," I said, "then maybe you need to learn what funny actually means." She hung up on me. Linda, who had been listening to the whole conversation, put her arms around me and said, "I'm proud of you." That meant more to me than any wedding invitation ever could. 2 weeks later, Morgan tried a different approach. She showed up at our house, unannounced, with tears in her eyes and James by her side. "Dad," she said, "I think we need to talk. Maybe I was out of line at dinner. Maybe. Not, I was wrong, or I'm sorry. Maybe." James stood behind her like a puppet master, nodding along. "Mr. David, we really value your contribution to the family." Contribution, not relationship, not love. Contribution. Linda made coffee, more out of politeness than hospitality. We sat in our living room, the same room where Morgan used to do homework while I helped her with math problems she claimed were impossible. "The thing is," Morgan said, dabbing her eyes with a tissue, Some vendors won't wait for payment. If we don't get the deposits in soon, we might lose our dates. She wasn't apologizing. She was negotiating. I understand that, I said. But that's between you and James now. I'm sure his family can help. James shifted uncomfortably. Well, actually, my parents think we should be more financially independent. Translation? They didn't want to pay either, but they were fine with letting me do it. Then be independent, Linda said quietly. It was the first time she'd spoken since they arrived. Take out loans, get second jobs, do what every other young couple does. Morgan looked at Linda like she'd suggested robbing a bank. That's not fair. Dad always helps me. Your father, Linda said, her voice steady but firm, has been helping you for 28 years. When does it end? Morgan had no answer for that. They left 20 minutes later. The next month was quiet. Too quiet. But Linda and I started doing things we hadn't done in years. We took weekend trips. We went to movies. We had dinners that didn't involve discussing Morgan's latest crisis or need for money. It was peaceful. It was also heartbreaking. Then, 2 weeks before the wedding, Linda gets a call. It's Morgan. Is Dad there? She asks. He's in the garage, Linda says. Do you want me to get him? Actually, Morgan says, can I talk to you first? Linda puts her on speaker so I can hear from the kitchen. I want Dad at my wedding, Morgan says. I know things have been weird, but he's still my father. James's parents are asking why he's not involved in the planning anymore. Not because she missed me, not because she was sorry, because people were asking questions. Linda, bless her heart, said exactly what I was thinking. Morgan, your father loves you. But love requires respect. If you want him at your wedding, start by treating him like the man who raised you, not like an inconvenience you need to manage. Can you just ask him to call me? Morgan said. You can ask him yourself, Linda replied. You have his number. Morgan never called. The wedding was on a Saturday in June. Linda and I went fishing instead. We drove to this little lake about an hour from home, packed sandwiches and beer, and spent the day catching nothing but feeling everything. Around what I figured was ceremony time, Linda raised her beer and said, Here's to the man who taught his daughter everything about love, even if she forgot the lessons. We clinked bottles and watched the sun set over the water. I heard later that the wedding went fine. No disasters, no drama. Morgan looked beautiful. James looked nervous. And his parents looked satisfied that they'd successfully kept the blue-collar element to a minimum. About a month after the wedding, Morgan showed up at our house again. This time, she came alone. She knocked on the door like she wasn't sure she was welcome. When I opened it, she looked smaller somehow, younger. Can we talk? She asked. Of course, I said, because despite everything, she's still my daughter. We sat in the kitchen where I'd made her breakfast every school morning for 14 years. Linda joined us not because she was invited, but because she's my wife and partners stick together. Morgan cried. Real tears this time, not the calculated ones from before. I was wrong, she said, at the dinner. And after. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I waited for the but. There's always a but with apologies like this. I don't have any excuse, she continued. I wanted to impress James's family so badly that I threw you under the bus, and when you called me out, I got defensive instead of listening. Still waiting for the but. It never came. I missed you at my wedding, she said. James kept asking where you were, and I had to keep making excuses. His parents asked why my father wasn't walking me down the aisle, and I had to lie and say you were sick. Why did you lie? Linda asked gently. Morgan looked at her hands. Because the truth made me look like a terrible person. And what's the truth? I asked. That I hurt the best father in the world because I was embarrassed of where I came from. That I treated you like you were beneath me when you're the reason I had anything to be proud of in the first place. She looked up at me, and for the first time in months, I saw my little girl again. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, she said, but I want to earn it. However long that takes. I looked at Linda, who nodded slightly. Morgan, I said, forgiveness isn't something you earn. It's something I give because I choose to, and I forgive you." She cried harder. "But," I continued, "forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean going back to how things were. If you want a relationship with me, with us, it has to be built on respect, not just when it's convenient, but always." She nodded. "I understand." "Do you?" Linda asked. "Because respect means not being ashamed of your father when it might impress people. It means saying thank you when someone helps you. It means treating people like family, not like resources." Morgan looked at Linda, really looked at her for the first time in years. "I owe you an apology too," she said. "I never welcomed you into our family. I never treated you like you belonged. But you've been more of a parent to me in the last hour than I've been a daughter in the last year." Linda reached across the table and took Morgan's hand. "We all make mistakes, honey. The question is, what we do next." That was 6 months ago. Morgan and I talk now, not every day, but regularly. She asks about Linda, about my business, about my health. She tells us about married life, about her job, about the things that matter to her. She's never asked for money since. Last month, she and James came over for dinner. James seemed different, too. Less entitled, more genuine. He asked about my work, complimented Linda's cooking, and helped with the dishes without being asked. Before they left, Morgan hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on you." I hugged her back and said, "That's what fathers do." But here's what I learned from all of this. There's a difference between supporting your children and enabling them. There's a difference between love and being useful. And there's a difference between family loyalty and self-respect. I spent years confusing those things. I thought being a good father meant saying yes to everything, paying for everything, accepting anything. But good fathers also teach boundaries. They model self-respect. They show their children that love doesn't mean becoming a doormat. Morgan needed to learn that actions have consequences, even with family, especially with family. The people who love you most are the ones who should treat you best, not worst. Was I wrong to walk away from my daughter's wedding? Some people think so. They say family forgives everything, overlooks everything, pays for everything. But I think family means holding each other accountable. Family means honest conversations, even when they hurt. Family means not laughing at the people who love you just to impress strangers. I don't regret missing that wedding, but I'm grateful I didn't miss the chance to rebuild our relationship on better ground. Linda was right all along. She usually is. So there you have it, folks. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be treated like you don't matter, even by your own children, especially by your own children. What would you have done? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Reddit Visuals. We're building a community here where respect goes both ways and family means accountability, not just biology. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.